Hi folks, I hope you're doing well. This video will be entitled Ripples. As you can see from the photo, there are ripples in the photo of the water. So there you go. It's 7:20 on the 15th of the 3rd, 2020. That's when this video is done, or started, should we say. Okay, so we talked to you about consequences. Ripples means consequences, really, in this context. Let's see a bit about that. So, okay, you talk about negative consequences. If you support any form of hatred online, whether it's a tweet, whether it's an extremist video on the left or on the right, then the ripple of that support may mean that they will do more videos just because of your comment. If you write a comment, your comment could be the thing that sparks other people to comment support, because other people may think, I don't really want to give support to that because I don't want to seem like the only extreme person on here. But then you've already commented, so therefore other people think, oh, I'm not the only one then, so yeah, I'll put my comment on. And so now there's more extremist views put on because of your comment. This can happen. You then get the positive influences that people do. You do something nice, then that can have an impact on other people. It can have a knock-on effect, and it generally does. If you give someone a smile, quite often that person can have a better day because the smile you give them cheers them up, and then they go on to have a better day because step by step each thing just has a knock-on effect. So again, these things are things that we need to understand. We need to understand the consequences of our actions, because if we're going to understand that our actions matter, then we need to understand the consequences of our actions. In line with the issue of Christian conduct, that if our conduct is godly, then this can be a blessing to people, because just by people seeing that, they're going to be blessed. If you're in a queue at a supermarket and the person at the till hasn't quite got enough money, and you just reach into your pocket and you give them the money that they need and just say, God bless. That doesn't just impact that person. If that person is searching through their bag, trying to find the right money, trying to figure out what they're going to do, they're holding everyone else up in that queue, which means that people are going to get frustrated. They're more likely to get a bit irritated by that whole situation. So you doing that one thing can make a difference in someone's life. In a number of people's lives, it can make a difference between them having a rather irritating day. Whereas that situation can either start the irritation or can compound it, or they can have a much better day because they've either been the recipient of your kindness or they've witnessed your kindness. And even witnessing kindness can have a knock-on effect of then that person then being the person to be kind in the future. So we need to understand the consequences of our actions, be they positive or negative. Now, unfortunately, it's not a case that if your action is positive, the consequences will always be positive. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. It is the case, though, in certainly the highest majority of cases, that your negative actions will result in negative consequences. So negative actions can be, certainly with regards to church, that you start talking about somebody. you talk about them to make you seem wise, to make you seem as if you're concerned about that person. Although if you weren't concerned about the person, you'd probably be speaking to them, not somebody else, about what somebody else is going through. But that can have a negative impact because the person you're speaking to can then go and tell the person, and that can be a problem. Oh, that can be. I've had that situation where I was speaking about a friend of mine who I met also in the sauna area. She's a Christian, but she's a bit of a struggling Christian. I'm saying that I don't even know if she's a Christian, to be honest. I'm not sure. She claims to be a Christian, but in her situation, her daughter seriously takes the mickey out of her. Where, over the Christmas period, her daughter wanted to work more hours to earn more money, so she basically dumped her little daughter onto her grandmother, which is the woman that I'm referring to. She's the grandmother of the child. Now, because of the fact that she never actually held her daughter accountable and said to her daughter, "Excuse me, this is your child. I've done my job raising you. It's your job now to raise your child. That's not my responsibility." The daughter will not stop doing it. She will keep doing it. She will have really hardly any type of relationship with her daughter because she'd always find an excuse to dump her daughter onto the grandmother of her daughter. Not only that, something that I found a bit even more of a taking the mickey situation. This woman's daughter would often bring her child round and expect her mother to feed the child, even though the daughter clearly does a lot of work, so she has loads of money. She doesn't spend money on a babysitter. She doesn't spend money on a nursery because her mother takes the child all the time. So I was speaking to somebody in the sauna about this situation, and that got back to the daughter. So I then got a load of abuse from the daughter and this friend of mine's son. And I explained to him, I wasn't having a go at you. I said, I was speaking to someone about the fact that parents are allowing their children to take the mickey. And it's the parents that are to blame. Well, of course, this didn't go over too well. My conversation was a varied conversation talking about society. But I mentioned somebody, and somebody else in the sauna had reported it back to the niece of my friend, who then reported it back to her cousin. So even a fairly innocent conversation, if it's about a certain person or you mention a person's name, it can have negative consequences because you are in essence slagging that person off. Well, I was in essence slagging my friend off, even though what I said about her, I've said to her face on numerous occasions. I've said it to her that she has got to stop doing this. For her sake, because obviously she needs to build her relationship with God. She can't do that. Like, she came to the filling station once and she really enjoyed it. That was 3 months ago. She's never been to one since. The reason is that she has to look after her granddaughter. And that's what she's doing. Instead of spending time with God or building a relationship with God, she's having to take care of her grandchild. And her grandchild is of an age where she's into everything and she demands attention all the time. So you're not really able to have time of prayer or time of, even Bible study or worship or anything like that, because this child is going to be getting into everything and demanding your attention. Which again, that should be down to the parent to deal with. If the parent wants to work more often to get more money, then that money should be spent on the daughter. on making sure that the daughter is taken care of. That is my understanding of, that's part of the problem with our society now, is that parents have become too buddy with their children. And so, of course, that was what I was referring to when I was speaking to this other lady in the sauna. I wasn't trying to cause offence to anyone, but offence was taken, and I had to deal with that situation. So again, that's what I'm talking about as in consequences. There are consequences to the things we say and the things we do. But sometimes, even when you speak truth, like I was speaking truth, I wasn't saying anything I've not said to the person themselves. I wasn't saying anything I wouldn't say to anyone face to face. Because what I was saying was true. It wasn't made up. I wasn't trying to make someone look bad for the sake of it. It was a point of saying, that I'm concerned for this generation, because if you've got parents who are bringing their children up like this, then there's a major problem. Like now, we live in a society where parents aren't supposed to even discipline their children. Smacking is illegal. Other forms of discipline are going to be illegal soon enough, because that's the way it's coming, where children are in control of their upbringing. And it's just wrong. There's so many areas of wrong in that. And so, it needs to be discussed. We need to look into that, and we need to speak about it and open it up. But there are consequences to that. Sometimes you can do something really lovely. Like, for example, light. Shining light in darkness can be good. It's a good thing you're doing. But it can have negative consequences, because people in darkness try to shy away from light. If you've been in darkness for a long time, light is painful to your eyes. It's not easy. So as soon as you start shining light, that person's going to be backing away. They're going to be telling you to go away. It's not going to seem as if they're grateful. So that's how positive can come across as negative. So in the end, folks, just understand that there are consequences to the things you do and to things you say. As spoken of before, the things you even consider, there are consequences to that. As I said, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of thoughts in our head that we've accepted, that are somewhere in our mind, that unless our mind is renewed, the devil is going to try and use those things to destroy us. There is no doubt about it. The devil will try and use those things to destroy us, because he can. And because he wants to. He doesn't want to destroy people who are of no issue to him. Right? So those sort of churchgoers, he doesn't care about them. They're never going to cause him a problem, so he can care less about them. What he does care about is the people that could be a threat to him. The people that are making the sort of noises that seem as if they're trying to get right with God. And destroying them is something that he will do, that he wants to do. And he will use stuff that they've thought was way gone in the past, but stuff that's packed away in their mind. So that's why it's important to be renewed. You've got to have your mind renewed. The last video was talking about death. Well, obviously, there's dead as well as death. We need to be dead in the form that our previous self, our old man, should be dead. We're supposed to be a new creation, which means the old has to die and the new to be reborn. And in so many cases, the old hasn't died. It's hanging on in there because we've allowed it to hang on in there. But that's why I've said we need to make sure that we've given all of our lives to God. Every bit of it. Because that's how the past manages to keep a grip, because we haven't given everything to God. We think we've given our lives to God without understanding what giving our life actually means, because church has never actually spoken about that. So there are ripples. There are ripples to that, because, as I say, that in itself, not giving your life to God fully, not understanding what giving your life is, itself has ripples, because you didn't understand it and you didn't do it properly, means that the past still has a hold over your life. So that's a ripple from when you first became a Christian and didn't understand what you were really getting into because the church wasn't teaching you, that you're now in a situation still years later where the past is still a problem. The thing that should have been dealt with when you first became a Christian is still a problem. But understanding that, you've got to understand where it started, where the ripple actually started. And you can try it and deal with it. You can say, right, okay, I didn't deal with it, which means I just need to deal with it. There's no good worrying about the fact it's had an impact on my life for the last 20 years or whatever. Deal with it now. Let's make sure it doesn't have an impact for the next 20 years. You can't go back and undo damage that was done in the past or decisions that were made in the past. All you can do is start from now and say, right, let's make sure those things aren't an issue now, from this moment forward. So ask God to help you to recognize the ripples and to recognize where these ripples are coming from, so that you can deal with them, and ask God to help you to deal with them, because that's the key in life. If you can deal with the things that are causing you to trip over, you'll stop tripping over. But if you don't deal with the things that keep causing you to trip over, you will keep tripping over, and eventually you're going to hurt yourself. Eventually you're going to get to a point where you don't want to get up anymore. If you get up, you're only going to trip over again, so just lay down. Stay on the flipping floor. What's the point in getting up? If you're only going to end up back on the floor, just stay there. So rather than be in that situation, you deal with it, so you stop tripping up. It's like people are walking together with their shoelaces tied together, wondering why they keep falling over. Well, look down. Shoelaces are tied together. Untie them, tie them up as they're supposed to, not tied together, and then you'll find you're not tripping over because of your shoelaces anymore. It's as simple as that. But it won't be your shoelaces, it'll be something else. But there are things that are going to cause us to trip over. I mean, I know for me, if I have to be aware. If I watch a film and there's an attractive lady, which is always going to be, there are attractive women in films, in movies, because generally speaking, they like to pick attractive people because that's the way it works. There was one I just watched, and if I can remember her name, actually, I don't know. Weird, I've just copied something that's completely different. Okay, I don't know who it was. Ridley, Daisy Ridley, the one who was in the Star Wars films. Beautiful woman, very, very beautiful woman. English, 27, so still young, very beautiful. So if I look at that sort of stuff and then I think, oh yeah, she's nice. Then I look at her videos and I see ones of her looking sexy. Then it's more likely I'm going to start having lustful thoughts and look for lustful material to satisfy those lustful thoughts. So I just have to be aware of that. Be aware that I could trip over in that way. So say, right, let's not do that then. That's a problem. So therefore, watch out for that. Be aware that there are things that can trip me over. I know that I can have a temper at times. So the easiest way to do that is something happens, but then take a couple of minutes away from it. Walk out the room. Don't deal with that for now, and then when you then go back to it, you've calmed down a bit. You can then deal with it properly without the immediate reaction being, you know. But once you know the things that trip you up, address them the best you can. Be aware of them, because you bet your bottom dollar, even though you're aware of the fact that, even though you know that such and such may cause you to trip up, the devil's going to keep on trying to put those things in front of you. Yeah, he'll try and disguise it a bit sometimes, but they'll still be there. He's not that clever. He really isn't. Partly because we're not that good at defending. We're not. We're absolutely terrible at defending. So therefore, the devil doesn't have to be that clever in getting us. So there you go. This issue of ripples only come up today because I was looking to change the photo from the photos I just had on the previous video. And the first photo I saw was this photo that you're now seeing. And it just spoke to me about ripples. So I thought, right, okay. It's an important thing to discuss because, again, I don't know if churches really cover the thing about consequences and, you know, how our actions, how they can have consequences. So some do. I guess some churches will do. Yeah. And good. You know, maybe I found a subject that some of them do discuss. So, yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's that one done. So there's nothing more I can add to that. Unless I'm trying to force it, and there's no point trying to force it. Just understand, folks, that there are things from our past that can cause us problems that we need to deal with. There are ripple effects from things that we do, we say, or the things we didn't do that we should have done. And so understand it. Be led and guided by the Holy Spirit so you can understand these things. And with God's help, you can deal with them. We need to be free. We need to be set free. We need to be in a position where we can get rid of the things that aren't of God completely, so we can deal with that. Not easy to do. I'm not saying it's easy to do. It's not. It's something which we're going to have to learn to do, because we're in a world that's screaming at us left, right, and centre. Look at this. Look at that. Look at this. Look at that. Come and get involved in this. All these things that are bad for you. Society is screaming it out. Yeah. So, I mean, for example, there's a guy who does this. Does these videos. He's a God. He's an Uber driver in Australia, and he does these comical Uber drives, which he puts on YouTube. And of course, most of them are drunk girls. Now, of course, the problem with drunk girls is that their inhibitions are completely flipping gone. And so, what is that encouraging men to do? To go out to the places where you've got these young, drunk girls who are more likely to agree to something that they wouldn't agree to if they were sober. And so all these videos like that are not necessarily going to be feeding the good stuff. Yeah, like you got, okay. Well, you've got top news on YouTube right now, the one I'm looking at. You've got coronavirus. Why doesn't the UK have enough ventilators? Well, that's going to scare the crap out of people, isn't it? I honestly don't think any nation has got enough ventilators, so that's not helpful, but there you go. Why don't they have enough ventilators? Because they weren't prepared for this. Because even when they started to see it being an issue, they still didn't bother to prepare for it. Because generally speaking, people have got stuff to do. And they forget they hope it goes away, and it didn't. So, more than 100 million Europeans in lockdown. That's a lot of people in lockdown. It'd be interesting to see what impact that has as well, but that's from The Guardian. Coronavirus, more than 100 million Europeans in lockdown. Premier League suspended due to coronavirus outbreak. Yeah. So it's quite likely they'll have to cancel that. And most sporting things are just going to be cancelled now. They had a boxing match the other day, and they had no crowd. There's these people hitting each other with no one else there, really. Apart from the referee and the little teams that the people bring up to help them during the fight. It's interesting. But yeah, it's one of those situations at the moment where, as I say, if you watch the videos on that sort of stuff, you could be quite alarmed when there's not necessarily any reason to be. Same as the news. You look at the news channels, they're the ones who've been really pushing panic and fear, when really, at the moment, there's not really anything to panic and fear. I mean, I saw something earlier on today which said if you're below 50, then you've got a 0.4% chance of the coronavirus getting you in a bad way. As in maybe you'll die from it. Now, that percentage of chances, that's between 40 and 50. Between 50 and 60, it was a 1.4% chance that if you get the coronavirus, you could die from it. Now, when you think about it, that's a low percentage. That's no worse than flu, really, at the moment. Now, obviously, things could change. The more people that get done, and in the end, as I said, in the issue of death, it's not a case where you might be the one to die, but it might be someone you know and you care about. So, pray for your loved ones, especially the older people. Pray for them. Make sure they're okay. Keep an eye on them. Again, ripple effect. You going over to see someone who's elderly may have the ripple effect of them recognizing that God is in you and then them repenting. So take advantage of this situation. Show God in a time where people are panicking. Show that you are at peace. That's enough for that then, because again, that's a ripple effect. But you take care, God bless, and I will speak to you whenever I do. All right? You take care, bye bye. God bless.